boy, what an absolutely fire episode of Star Trek. That episode was completely gas. What is up, everybody? Gannon here, back again with another one of my Star Trek reviews. Last week's episode of Strange New Worlds was packed full of fun new things for us to learn about, from Una's new identity as a genetically modified Illyrian to Mbenga's transporter daughter. We got to see one of the coolest UFC showdowns in Star Trek history, and I just gotta say, I've been rewatching the TOS and rewatching the first handful of episodes provided to us by Strange New Worlds, and I'm having so much fun right now just thinking of every niche legacy character I'd like to be brought back. Anything that's referenced in Strange New Worlds, I just get a bit giddy when I could go back and compare it to something that I have also seen in the original series. For example, watching the Menagerie and Operation Annihilate after the past couple episodes is just so much fun. I always love getting to see Samuel Kirk and then just realizing that it's William Shatner and a damn mustache. In episode 1, when Captain Pike was re-entering the Enterprise bridge for the first time and looks over at Lon and makes a remark about how he wasn't prepared to have a new number one, I completely think that that was owed to the original pilot episode when Pike comes out onto the bridge and says, "Oh, I don't know how I feel about a woman on my bridge." I just think that that was them kind of poking fun at the original sexism that was present in Captain Pike's character, you know, in the damn 60s. There's a lot of little pokes like that I've been noticing as I've been going back and rewatching these episodes. But with all that being said, today we're going to be reviewing Season 1, Episode 4, titled Memento Mori. Let's get right into it. Say other than this episode was absolutely sensational. I enjoyed every scene. Every moment of this episode was just amazing, thrilling, entertaining. It was just totally a mix between TNG's disaster and then also the original series Balance of Terror, where the Enterprise is fighting a foe, kind of evenly matched, except in this case, the Enterprise was heavily outmatched and was being hunted by the Gorn of all species. Yes, the Gorn are finally showing up now in Strange New Worlds, being previously referenced, and then of course it's just a huge part of Lon Noonien Soon's character that she has this trauma in her life because her family members and people that she knew and loved were consumed and hunted and turned into breeding stock by the Gorn in front of her very eyes. And in this episode we finally get some backstory to that. So many things to mention in this episode. Let's just get right into it. It just starts off with the Enterprise on their way to this place called Phoenibus 3. They're transporting this thing referred to as an atmospheric processor that they are going to give to the colony on Phoenibus 3 in order to provide them with clean air. They make mention at the start of this episode about the memorial badges that they are wearing because it is Starfleet Memorial Day. These are badges that have ship names on them so that they can remember past ships that have fallen in the line of duty. They look pretty cool, and I'm pretty sure this is just a clever way to sell merchandise. They're just really good looking pins that have the ship's name on them. Just another badge type, in my opinion, that you could just sell to Star Trek fans that looks pretty good. Captain Pike is, I'm pretty sure, wearing a Discovery one in this episode, and Lon Noonien Soon is wearing the U.S.S Puget Sound, which is the name of the ship that was attacked by the Gorn. Her whole entire backstory, essentially. They arrive to the planet, and they realize that it's kind of a little bit quiet there, okay? Nobody's going to talk to the Enterprise. Nobody's going to talk to Captain Pike, and it's because the communications relay has been destroyed. Upon sending an away team down to the planet, it's gory as hell down there. There's blood trails where the Gorn have pulled humans across the floor, just their whole entire bodies. I just gotta say, the Gorn are being built up to be this amazing Zathura horror species, and I'm absolutely loving it. They just cannot fail at making the Gorn look good. If they make the Gorn look stupid and their design is just lacking after all of this buildup, I'm going to be really disappointed. I'm not going to lie. A woman by the name of Professor Thandi explains that, yep, they were attacked by an unknown enemy because everything just happened so fast that nobody can remember, nobody actually remembers seeing the Gorn because they're just so scary and traumatic. Pike has a conversation with Professor Thandi. It just makes me love the episode already. Very much reminds me of how the dynamic between Starfleet and its citizens who are in trouble should be. Captain Pike is so stoic, and he's awesome when aiding the professor and her people. The description of the attack, by the way, I'm extremely proud. It's very accurate to the way that the Gorn had attacked Cestus 3 in the original series episode Arena. In that episode, they describe the phasers raining down on them as like being phasers, but ones that are just like really fucking hot and melt your skin, not ones that just totally obliterate you, which are honestly a little bit more kind. When the landing party returns back to the Enterprise, one of the children who was aboard this little ship that Professor Thandi was on, that was orbiting the planet they were using to escape and evade the Gorn, tells Long that she heard like tongue clicks come from the enemy, which puts Long in her fight or flight mode, and she just starts suspecting, hey, this is totally the Gorn. I have to go warn Captain Pike. The Gorn are really shaping up to be the big bad of this series, which is amazing. And also, I really like how in this episode, I was very much afraid that there would be a huge canon mistake with reintroducing the Gorn back into the series, because as you know, in the TOS episode Arena, Captain Kirk actually has no idea what a Gorn is. Like, he hasn't been briefed on it. So if we're introduced to Lieutenant Kirk in the series, I would very much like him to be juvenile and kind of ignorant to the events that are going on, especially with Captain Pike and the Gorn. I do not think that there should be any way possible that Captain Kirk should know what the Gorn is, okay? In this episode that they were saying that nobody's ever seen a Gorn, they've always stayed in their own space, total rumors about their species, we don't even know what they look like. So canonically, that just makes a lot of sense. Basically, we learn very quick that this is just a whole trap set up by the Gorn. They left that ship in orbit intentionally to attract the Enterprise so that they would have to put a little connector between them and the ship so that they drop their shields. The Gorn attack, destroy that little ship. They're not able to get everybody over in time. A great intro to the episode. The Gorn with their little spinny small fighter attack ship coming and absolutely blitzing the Enterprise. After the intro, we get an amazing scene of Nurse Chapel assisting people in a crisis situation. I just love how it's shot. It's just seen through the eyes of, I'm pretty sure it's Una or Uhura. You see Nurse Chapel going to quickly assist people in a dire time of need. I feel like there's just been more doctoring in the first 3 or 4 episodes than the entirety of all of New Trek before it. It is just great. I love how there are actual Starfleet doctors again. This is just TNG's disaster where things literally go from 0 to 100 so fast. Hemmer breaks his hand in the cargo bay. They're trapped in there. Him and Uhura are trapped in there with the atmospheric pressure device. It's going to basically explode into a nuclear bomb and turn the Enterprise crispy. After the Enterprise is attacked, it's damaged. There's also just like, it's kind of crazy. They claim that they only have one photon torpedo left. Like all the other photon torpedoes in the bay got destroyed, or all the other bays got destroyed, which doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. How are all of the photon torpedoes on the ship except one? Because there should be at least like 50 of these things at any given time. How is all but one surviving, but only like 7 crew members die this episode? That numbers are just not equating. Also, number 1's guts are just spilling out. She got hit with some shrapnel at the beginning of the attack, so she's just out of commission the entire episode. The only prominent thing that she does, there's this really cool scene where she's about to be given plasma. Like, Mbenga and Chapel have to do some primitive medicine this episode because everything goes down. All the energy, all of the power going into the medical bay, except for, of course, Dr. Mbenga's transporter daughter, because it's tied directly into the warp core or something. All of that stuff goes down, so they're forced to do some primitive medicine, which is awesome. It kind of happens every so often that a doctor has to do some kind of primitive medicine type from the 21st century, or even before that. If you remember, in the 2nd season of TNG, Dr. Pulaski had instructed one of her medical staff to use a splint, and they looked at her like she was absolutely bonkers. But yeah, there's this really cool scene where number 1 denies plasma and tells them to give it to another crewmate who also needs the plasma, so that's just her being a really awesome senior officer. There's two awesome scenes also when they're in the briefing room where Ortega's describes the Gorn and says nobody has ever seen them, and that triggers Long. She tells them that nobody has ever seen the Gorn because the Gorn kill everybody that they see. They're hunters. They just see humans as bags of flesh, resources to be tapped into, and that they're prey to them. From a viewer's perspective, this actually makes the Gorn seem quite scary. They do a great job of illustrating the Gorn this episode without us ever actually having to see them. Also, a great scene of Captain Pike after Long gets a little bit triggered in front of the crew. He makes comments about how if you make the crew believe a miracle can happen, then they can actually provide you with a miracle. It's always good to present dire information to the crew, at least with good spirit. You always have to stay positive. It is your role as a senior officer. Pike is just such an awesome teacher, instructor, and role model, and just like captain. He's doing such a good job of instilling his wisdom onto the less experienced members of his crew. Also, Lon just keeps on seeing a trauma force ghost this episode of her brother. After successfully destroying one of the Gorn ships with a photon torpedo maneuver that's pretty jock of Captain Pike, they think everything is all good, but that's when, nope! The Gorn were literally using one of those small tiny scout ships as bait. As soon as it was destroyed, a giant Gorn flagship comes out of nowhere, and it's being assisted by two more of these scout drones. So now the situation is so dire. The Enterprise is gonna explode, Hemmer's hand is broken, and now they're vastly outnumbered by the Gorn. They have just used their last photon torpedo, and there's no chance of winning from like an offensive point of view. Basically, they're inside a gas giant like Jupiter that is right next to a black hole. They need to come up with some plan to evade the Gorn. Spock is like, Captain, if we go any deeper into this gas giant, it could totally crush the ship. It could destroy us all. And then Pike is hilariously like, oh, yeah, let's do that. I just love Captain Pike. This is his strongest episode so far. It just seems like everybody's performances episode by episode are getting better. Like they're really molding into these roles brilliantly. There's also this crazy scene where transporter operator Kyle leaves a crewman behind a bulkhead door, and that was just a crazy wild scene. I would have liked Kyle to make some note of this later, be a little bit traumatized or sad by the fact that he almost kind of maliciously pushed this dude out of the way, like, hurry up, you idiot. You shouldn't have fallen. Now it's time to die. Because, like, slightly impactful because of just how derpy Transporter Chief Kyle murdered that guy. Towards the end of the episode, Pike's demeanor when he tells Long that they are not going down without a fight is so cool and jock. This episode premise is fire. The Enterprise hunted and outgunned by a greater force of Gorn. Balance of terror, except Captain Kirk isn't totally dicking on the Romulans the whole time. It's like the Romulans dicking on him. Lon and Spock take the Galileo out. Is this the Galileo 7? Like, is this the exact same shuttlecraft that was in the episode where Spock and them get trapped on that moon full of cavemen? Is this just the regular Galileo, and then we have, like, its predecessor, the Galileo 7? There's, like, been 7 of them since then. On the shuttle, Spock and Lon do a mind meld, which finally gives us the opportunity to see her backstory, gives us some visual representation of what it was like for her on the Gorn breeding planet, and we get to see her brother saving her life, accidentally makes a noise, lures the Gorn towards their position, or Lon's brother goes to sacrifice himself to protect her, gives her a journal that's filled with information. Because she's in the mind meld state, she's able to look back at that information and, you know, actually decipher and use it. She then learns how the Gorn communicate with lights, takes the shuttlecraft over to one of those scout ships, projects some light with her phaser, confuses the Gorn, and tells them that basically, hey, this little scout ship has been taken over by humans. And because of the Gorn culture, Lon just knows that the Gorn are just going to open fire on their own ship to destroy it. Survival of the fittest. And that is one of the coolest, most hard ways that they have defeated an enemy that they're totally outclassed by I have seen in a while. Very impressive. I'm going to say that that was a very, very cool scene. Also, while they're on the Galileo, there's reference to Michael and the Discovery, and gosh, it's just so good. I love how they're treating the events of Discovery in Strange New Worlds. It's so beautiful, just a little bit bittersweet by the fact that Discovery Season 4 is the worst season of Star Trek ever produced. It is subpar writing. It's just the worst thing I've ever seen, and Cleveland Booker is the worst Star Trek character ever. But other than that, I love Star Trek Discovery to death. death. I just wish that it could make a comeback and rejuvenate itself because season 4 just shouldn't exist. At the end of the episode, Pike and Spock come up with the idea of slingshotting around a black hole, creating an optical illusion and dropping the atmospheric processor as a decoy, allowing it to explode, making it seem like the Enterprise has been destroyed. Pike is also adamant that the Enterprise will hold upon doing this maneuver, so they successfully do that. The Gorn get tricked into thinking that the Enterprise has been destroyed. They leave the gravity hold of the black well, and all is well. Number 1 survives in sickbay. 7 people die on the Enterprise, and oh my gosh, we just have a great solid episode of Star Trek. I saw nothing wrong with that episode at all. I loved every waking second of it. The introduction of the Gorn into the series is actually done well. Like, I am seeing no plot holes, nothing here. The only thing that could go slightly wrong is if they introduce Lieutenant Kirk down the line in season 2 and he gets briefed on the Gorn and he makes note or mental note of their existence. That will be a plot hole. But yes, this is a sensational episode of Star Trek. I'm literally going to be putting this up there with like Balance of Terror, but maybe just like a little less iconic and good than Balance of Terror. It's basically just like another great Balance of Terror episode of Star Trek. So when I'm giving it that amount of props, I don't know what to tell you. I just really liked the damn episode. It was sensational. What did you guys think of the episode? I would really love to know. Leave it down in the comments below. I read every single comment. If you're enjoying any of the content that you see on the channel, I'd be very flattered if you were to subscribe. When we get to 10K subscribers, I am going to dress up as a Star Trek Xenos and probably film myself going out and harassing people in public. Thank you guys so much again for watching. Love you all. Hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Live long and prosper. Can I subscribe?